There is also, to my knowledge, more than one FBI investigation open.
The investigation continues into grooming.
You're sending the FBI after me?
I don't trust anybody to help us in this situation.
We're having a hard time finding people that are actual victims.
Where to begin? This topic has been one of the most stressful, aggravating, and tedious topics that I've ever had the displeasure of encountering. Onision is not a good person. In fact, he is most likely a disgusting and repulsive human being who uses his position of power to prey upon younger girls that don't know any better. Not only that, but he is most likely an abhorrent but charismatic bully who abuses his partners both mentally and physically. In other words, a piece of trash. But you already know that. So, when is he going to jail? Yeah. About that. I want to preface this video by making it clear that I do not support Onision in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to be critical of Chris Hansen and the way that he's gone about his investigation throughout this segment, but being critical of the way an investigation has been carried out is not the same as supporting Onision. I just want to clarify something before we start. People have constantly been framing Onision as a groomer. Okay, groomer has been a popular response to his tweets, but unlike the UK, Australia, and many countries in Europe, grooming is not a crime in the US. It is perfectly acceptable for a 16-year-old to move in with a 30-year-old, not to have any sexual relations, and to have sex with them on the day after they turn 18. It's really bloody creepy, but it's perfectly legal. You need something a lot more substantial than that to get a conviction. Throughout this segment, I want to put focus on one word in particular: evidence. To convict anyone of any crime, you need a lot of evidence. Evidence is sometimes hard to come by because it can't just be a person saying what happened. That's not evidence, that's a testimony. And in order for a testimony to be proven accurate, correct, and admissible, there needs to be cold, hard proof to back it up. So, where is the proof? Now, if you've been following this situation, your mind likely went straight towards Shiloh, who allegedly has videos archived originally uploaded on Onision's channel documenting Onision's abuse towards her. Any competent criminal defense lawyer would have many things to say about these videos being admissible in court. First of all, there's the issue of Onision's content itself. Much of it is not to be taken seriously and could be classified as satire, so why would these clips be any different? At the end of the day, it's just one person's word against another. That's not to say I don't believe Shiloh, but I'm trying to be fully objective here, erring on the side of caution, because that will be the lens of the court system looks at this from. Courts generally err on the side of caution when it comes to making decisions, since they don't want to hand out a wrongful conviction, and I'll try my best to maintain that position throughout this segment. Anyway, back to the videos. So there's the problem of Onision's backlog mostly consisting of content that is satire, but then there's also the logical arguments to be made. If these were legitimate clips of Onision abusing Shiloh, why would he upload them for millions of people to see? It just makes no sense to the outside world. The courts don't care if Onision is apparently insane, he doesn't have any medical diagnoses, and a psychological assessment will likely bring back results that he's just a normal functioning human being. However insane Onision might be, I have no doubt in my mind that he is capable of acting completely sane and more than able to fool any surface level psychological assessment that might go on when going through the court system. So all in all, what I'm saying is that these videos will likely not be admissible in court due to the nature of them and the content surrounding them. So we'll definitely need a bit more than this if we are going to convict Onision of anything. A better charge to get him on in regards to Shiloh would be under statutory rape. Shiloh has stated that Onision had sex with her when she was 16. According to her, he travelled to her state, Pennsylvania, with the age of consent is 16, he booked a hotel room, and they had sex. This is illegal under Title 18 of the US Code, Section 2422, Coercion and Enticement, which carries a maximum jail sentence of 10 years or 20 years, depending on the crime. This sexual relationship is also illegal under Pennsylvania's age of consent laws. In this state, two people between the age of 16 and 17 can consent to have sex with each other, but not to someone aged 18 or older. So, if this happened, there are 2 counts to get him on. But there's just a slight issue here. Onision said it didn't happen. So how do you prove it did? CCTV footage of the supposed hotel would be long overwritten by now. You could show evidence in the form of text messages that Onision was arranging for sex at a hotel, but they would have to be able to be verified. Does Shiloh even still have the phone? If she doesn't, most phone companies wouldn't keep a backup, and even if they did, would probably not comply with the FBI as Apple has done in the past. Screenshots are not enough, given how easy it is to fake messages in Photoshop nowadays. You can even hack into phones to make a text say whatever you want to say. With Android, it's extraordinarily easy. With Apple, it's a bit harder, but not impossible. If both the recipients were using iPhone, they would automatically be using iMessage, which is encrypted on both ends, meaning that not even Apple can read the messages. The same goes for WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, and Kik claims they delete messages as soon as they're sent, so subpoenas of these apps is not an option. I'm not sure what phone Shiloh had at the time, but any criminal defense lawyer would have a field day with all these discrepancies. I could go on more, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. At the end of the day, it's Onision's word against Shiloh's. The fact that Shiloh has a history of mental illness probably doesn't help her case either. Any criminal defense lawyer would argue that if Shiloh was not in the best of state when talking with Onision, that her evidence and statements should hold much less weight in court, or even that her statements should not be heard at all. Again, I'm sorry if I'm being cynical, but I'm erring on the side of caution here. You really need something super duper daring to get a jury to achieve a unanimous verdict in court. So, I'm just trying to put all these accounts under scrutiny. A lot of Chris Hansen's investigation had more to do with Kai than it did with Onision. Sarah's argument in relation to Onision had to do with him grooming her, which isn't illegal as I stated before. I've seen the argument of power of attorney thrown around a lot, that is, Onision couldn't have sexual relations with Sarah even though she was within the age of consent at the time because he provided for her. He put the food on the table, and in many respects, he was her legal guardian of sorts. Now, the issue with this argument is that power of attorney stops becoming a valid point when you turn 18. When you're 18, you're an adult, and you can make your own decisions. For example, a teacher is said to have power of attorney over a student in school. In many states, it is illegal for someone who is power of attorney to have sexual relations with someone who is under the age of 18, even though both parties may be within the age of consent. But when you turn 18, you can have sex with anyone you like, including teachers at your school. Is it creepy? Yes. Will that teacher lose their license? Yes. But is it illegal? Not in criminal court, maybe in civil court under malpractice, but that doesn't apply here. So, realistically, what do we have left? At the moment, the arguments against Kai are looking a whole lot more convincing than the arguments against Onision. There have been accusations of child pornography, specifically to do with Sarah, that have been thrown out against Kai. Sarah allegedly had a laptop and phone originally belonging to Kai that had illegal pornography on it that was supposed to be sent to the FBI. Chris Hansen told her to send it to this guy, Vincent Nicotra, who's a scam artist and professional crybaby under Chris Hansen's name. Vincent had stated that Chris Hansen told him to await further instructions, but further instructions never came. It was just sitting in this guy's New York apartment for months. Any criminal defense lawyer would have a field day saying that this evidence should not be admissible, for obvious reasons. The amount to which this investigation has been absolutely botched is insane to me. Chris Hansen is not the police. Hell, Chris Hansen isn't even an investigator. He's just an interviewer. While his TV show is running, Hansen never did any of the behind-the-scenes work himself. He merely interviewed the predators. He had a whole team of professionals helping him. And now he is this guy, which he fired, and a lawyer accused of sexual assault in the Michigan Supreme Court, and also named in the center of a fraud scheme. Good choice of people there, Chris. Hansen has put a false sense of hope into these girls. He's set himself up to be the hero in this big story, the big man who is going to take Onision down once and for all. But I just don't think this is the case. And neither does Sarah.
Do you feel like he's doing his best to help you girls, or do you feel like he's just kind of running his YouTube channel?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. I don't trust anybody to help us in this situation at this point. I don't trust anyone. That's specifically why I had them send me the laptop back so I can get it to the proper people.
Yeah.
Because putting my faith in them to do it was not the correct move, obviously.
Yeah.
What these ladies did, coming out into the public eye under all this scrutiny in the world, in front of millions of people, must have taken some intense balls, and they're all extremely strong for having come out with their stories against Onision. I support the victims 100%, but that doesn't mean I can cherry pick the truth and tell you what you want to hear. I'm not going to do what Chris Hansen has done for months now and put a false sense of hope into anyone who might have been affected by Onision, because what he's done may be disgusting, repulsive, and creepy, but it's just legal enough to where he'll probably get away with it. Sarah has said that she's looking at bringing civil action against Onision, which I think has a much better chance of getting some sort of conviction. But he won't be jailed for this. He'll have to pay damages. Still better than nothing, but if this happens, he won't be going to jail. Just before I end off today, I want to present to you one more aspect surrounding criminal trial that you might not be aware of. In order to have a successful trial, a jury needs to be unbiased according to the Sixth Amendment. There have been situations where a case has been thrown out completely due to a jury not being able to be unbiased, perhaps in the case of significant media attention. We live in a very interesting time with online media. In the past, restrictions have been put on newspapers and TV in certain situations to prevent a jury from being biased. Just recently in Australia, newspapers and TV were banned from reporting on the conviction of Cardinal Pell, as the case was still ongoing. This has happened in the US before, and it's not out of the question that it might happen with Onision if he does go to trial. But the internet is not able to be controlled so easily. With the internet becoming the new place where people are consuming their news and entertainment, the dangers of influencing a jury begin to increase. This is certainly a bit of a stretch, but it's important to consider that while reporting on Onision's actions may assist in bringing his actions to light, it may also hinder civil processes. And that is something we all have to keep in mind going forward. Now, to add a bit extra to this whole conversation and to talk about more overarching issues with the Onision investigation, we have to go to the depths of Twitter, the home of cancellation and normalization. It's got it all, really. One aspect of Twitter that is especially bad is the Anti-Onision community. I don't want to pretend like I'm not anti-Onision, because I am, but this community is... it's just something else. They seem to be fueled by the incessant desire to take Onision down by whatever means possible, even if it means breaking the law to do so. I saw a guide recently drafted up by someone in the community on how to exploit the copyright system to take Onision off from YouTube. If YouTube won't take him down, we must join the effort to do it for them. Abuse the system just like how Gregory has. That way the same loophole he's been using is our advantage. I don't even know if I need to explain why this is a problem, but I will anyway. If you do what is described in this document, you will be submitting a legal document for removal using the DMCA under penalty of perjury. If YouTube finds out who submitted these, perhaps by tracing your IP, and find out that you're misusing their tools, not only will they give Onision more immunity to these mass flags, since a bot will whitelist him in the system or blacklist strikes so that they have to go through a second review, but can also sue those people for hundreds of thousands of dollars, which they have done in the past. If you use fraudulent information to submit a strike, it can easily be reversed. The only person you're making it harder for is the poor YouTube employee who has to reverse them all because idiots like this mess with official legal documents. This is the sort of logic we're dealing with here, but it doesn't stop there. Anytime you question any aspect of the investigation, you will get branded as a pedo protector, and people say you're defending Onision. It doesn't matter who or what you question, you're just expected to blindly believe anything and everything said by anyone. Even central figures in the investigation have been guilty of this behaviour. Just the other day, one of the main victims of Onision, Sarah, posted her Venmo to Twitter, saying that she went to an FBI office in Michigan and dropped off her laptop and old phones, and that they'll probably be keeping the laptop for a while, so she would be needing a new one for school. Some people, including Nicholas Diorio, question this, since she never needed the money when she dropped off the laptop to Vince a few months back, and she said in a live stream that she wasn't going to touch it.
And if it turns out that nothing is happening with the FBI, or if things aren't progressing or whatever, I will keep it until it is needed, and I'm just not going to touch it.
On top of this, she shouldn't have touched it anyway, as the longer you use it, the greater the chances that something could go wrong and the hard drive could get corrupted. These were all valid questions, but people said that by asking these questions and questioning the intentions of the victims, the people were somehow supporting Onision. One user went a bit too far and asked Sarah where she went to school to verify the semesters of when she actually started college, and Shiloh, another victim of Onision, went on a Twitter rampage, directing her 32,000 followers to report her. She then asked him to report Nicholas Diorio because he said some things she didn't like, under the guise of releasing private DMs, which is not against Twitter TOS, and encouraging doxing of a 19-year-old girl, which didn't happen at all, ending the tweet with hashtag #deplatformpredators. But she lied about a situation to create a false case against someone so that she could justify someone being deplatformed. Sounds like the behavior of someone else we know. She also put out a tweet that said that if people aren't here to support the victims and keep the attention on Onision, that she'll just block them. So we aren't allowed to question intentions and the integrity of an investigation. We just have to blindly go along with what everyone says. Thank you, Shiloh, very epic. Within this last minute, I've just done all the deadly sins against the Anti-Onision Twitter community. I'll beat you to it. I'm a disgusting pedo protector who's not supporting the victims and is performing insane mental gymnastics to support Onision. There you go, guys. I've cancelled myself. No need to do it for me. Questioning intentions and questioning stories about the protagonists is not the same as supporting the antagonists. It's just a silly assumption. No, I don't support Onision. If there's some law he's broken, throw him in jail. But people seem to be making up laws just for the sole purpose of jailing Onision, which is certainly the wrong way to go about it. And on the subject of making up rules, I reckon we should talk about why YouTube hasn't deplatformed Onision yet. The simple answer? He hasn't broken any of the community guidelines. Go ahead, read them. Which one has he broken? People have said that he showed his penis in a video for a few seconds and should be taken down for that. Wrong. Nudity isn't against community guidelines. The video will just get age restricted.
True or false? Nudity is never allowed on YouTube. What do you think? The answer is false. While sexually explicit content like pornography isn't allowed, we actually allow nudity when the primary purpose is educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic.
How about all the false copyright strikes he's made? Well, he hasn't really made any. YouTube can't analyze intent or get involved in determining fair use due to safe harbor law. And this part of the YouTube help page refers to providing false information when striking someone, so he can't be terminated for that. If he's arrested and convicted, his channel will be deleted, such as in the cases of Austin Jones and Larry Nassar. But he hasn't, and I don't think he will, as I've stated before. But what do I know? I'm just a degenerate pedo protector who's ill-informed and doesn't support victims. That's completely ironic, please don't cancel me. Anyway guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.